every single one of you right now have potential deals in your MLS. But I'm telling you, every single one of you have deals in your MLS. So you need to go find the deal. You need to get the story of why it's a deal. You need to get the insider information from the listing agent. Once you have that, you use LeadDeck to find the buyers of that deal. You can find the best buyers using LeadDeck. You literally call them and say, hey, Dave, it looks like you're a pretty active investor here in whatever area you're in. I have a deal that could be a good one for an investor. I don't know if you're looking for any deals or maybe know anyone who would be right now. And then here's what happens. LeadDeck is a tool where you can go and create a free account. And instantly, within creating your free account, you will have 2 decks of cards, or people in this case. You have a deck of cash buyers and you have a deck of motivated sellers, and all you're trying to do is play Go Fish.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. Hey, welcome back, everybody. As I said, this is going to be this episode will knock it out of the park because we're going to talk about everything from years ago to present to future, everything else. So today's guest is somebody who figured out a long time ago that the rest of the industry, before the rest of the industry did, that chasing people wasn't a really good business plan. He's a marketer, coach, entrepreneur, investor, and one of the earliest advocates for attraction-based real estate systems. From building Client Alchemist to launching LeadDeck, he spent years helping agents stop relying on hope, hustle, and outdated tactics and started building predictable pipelines that actually work. Josh Schoenly, you live in Pennsylvania. You work in the real world real estate trenches, and you teach from experience, not theory. Welcome to.
Well, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I'm so glad you're here. And it's just talking to you the other day. Brought back a lot of things, and we just realized I just remembered a couple of things earlier today about you in the past and stuff. And you were really in front of this business a long time ago with the Client Alchemist and podcasting and things that you were doing and sharing with agents and becoming a coach and stuff. And for me, you were one of the first people that I followed years and years ago. Let's face it. I mean, we were doing video, we were doing lives before anybody really was doing them. I know you were, and I was in the same boat. And the great thing about what you've done is, I mean, you went from from doing the business to going to attraction-based marketing long before people knew what that was, right?
Yeah.
How did you make that? How did you get from what everybody was teaching you about the real estate business when you first got into it, and how did you get on that path so early, and been able to get and keep going with it?
Yeah, it's funny. It started outside of real estate because I caught the entrepreneurial bug, in part because of real estate, but really because of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book totally changed my outlook on so many things. And it sent me on the path down some network marketing opportunities and learning to market and so forth and build residual income, and learn and grow and so forth. But what I found so interesting and frustrating more than anything about, and I joined a few of them, every single one, it was, here's a piece of paper, write down everybody every one of your friends and family, and we're going to beg them to buy your whatever, your pills and potions and gels.
Yep.
And I just remember deciding pretty early on that if there wasn't a better way to build a business than chasing your friends and family, then I wouldn't be an entrepreneur. I wasn't going to be in business.
Right.
So one thing leads to another. I get my real estate license. And the very first broker I met with, in my very first meeting, I can picture his office. I can picture everything. He handed me like one of those folders with the pockets, and he opens it up. And the first thing he shows me is, what I want you to do first, Josh, is I want you to make a list of all your friends and family. And we're going to start by calling them and basically begging them for some sort of referral or opportunity to sell real estate. And I just wasn't going to do things that way. Now, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't help and service your friends and family when they need your help, but to build a business centered around begging them or chasing them to get them to refer you people or to get them to, sell or buy or whatever, that's the cherry on top of the sundae. That can't be the sundae. Otherwise, you're riding the commission roller coaster. You're in the feast and famine cycle, and that's the thing that I think is the biggest injustice in our industry. Is there's still a lot of that around. The idea to work by referral only sounds great, but what happens like when the last 2 years when the transaction count is lower than it's been since the mid 90s? If you're by referral only, so you're just proactively choosing to have your income cut in half or more. Like, if you don't have a proactive way to build your pipeline and not be reliant on just inbound referrals, I think you're just in for a rough business, a rough 2026, if not the last few years.
So we're talking basically your sphere of influence, but there's nothing wrong with that being one of your pillars of having your family know everything what you're doing, right?
100%, right? Absolutely. Right. The thing about that though is this year that might be 6, 8, 10 transactions. Next year it might be 3. The next year after that it might be 12. There's no predictability to that. It's why I think most agents have that feast and famine, that roller coaster ride, because if that's the only way they're generating business, most of them are scared, they're frustrated, they're uncertain about what to do. They're constantly looking for the next shiny object because because of all of those things. And 100% that should be part of your pillar. In fact, I got this great analogy from a good buddy of mine, and I want to give credit where credit is due. His name is Jason Gruner. He actually called me right before we went on, so I'm excited to call him back. He and I chat often. He's the #1 luxury agent in Nashville. And I was putting together a new presentation, a new class for real estate agents, and I was talking through the content with him, and he gave me this analogy. I gave him an analogy or a simile that I was going to use, and he immediately spit back one that is way better. Here it is. In our business, there are essentially 3 roles or 3 avatars that we take on. Number 1, we're the shepherd. We have this flock of sheep, and we tend to the sheep, and when they need our help, we're there for them. That's the person that's by referral only. Then you have the farmers that go out and they plant the seeds and they take care of the soil. They pray and hope that the weather cooperates and that there'll be a good crop for them to harvest at the end of the season. And then they're the hunters, the people that can go out at the beginning of the day and come back with dinner at the end of the day. And I've been sharing that presentation and then that analogy. And the reality is we all have to be all 3.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
It's to what degree are you all 3? And some of that is dictated by what your goals are. How, if your goals, if you want to sell 1 house a week, you can probably get, 1 house a month, let's say. If we want to do 12 transactions in the next year, you can probably just be the farmer and the shepherd. You'll still have a little bit of uncertainty, and there'll still be some times where you're a little nervous. Is something going to happen? But if you've got big goals, you have to have the hunter avatar as part of that.
Right.
It's virtually impossible to make it happen without that component, without that ability to go and hunt down and proactively create transactions and fill your pipeline.
I love the analogy of the shepherd, the farmer, and the hunter, simply because, like you said, we actually, I believe we need to be all three. I mean, sphere of influence to me is very, very important if it's set up right, and that can be your shepherd as well as the farmer with that, right? It can actually overlap a little bit, and the important part to there is that constant communication, consistency in your business is going to help you there. You can also look at that as, oh, I'm just going to use open houses as an idea, right? So if you really do well with an open house and you have, say it's your listing, you can actually do 2 or 3 more deals because of that open house, because of that listing, if you're properly hunting and farming the people that you see through that process of the listing, which is extremely important. And then, of course, there's a hunter. I mean, you might call that hunter the one that calls for sale by owners, expires, withdraws, cancels, whatever it is, to be able to build your business, right? And it is really, really important.
Now, and just to be clear, when I'm talking for me, that's not my hunter activity. I like to set up situations where I know I can win. So my hunter activities are more like shooting fish in a barrel, not going out and spending an entire day trying to find that trophy buck and coming back empty-handed. Okay. So like I like to stack the deck in my favor. That's some foreshadowing on the new thing that we've got for everybody. I like to stack the deck in my favor. And also I don't want to brag, but I want to share something that I think will add more reality and context to this conversation. So since September 26th of 2025, as of yesterday, I have closed 18 transactions.
That's 18. Yep.
17 new listings and 6 deals I have in escrow, a couple listings, a couple buy side. I broke that down recently, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I'll give you, they'll be close enough. 24, so 18 plus 7 is 25, plus 4 or plus 6 is 31. So low 20s, 23 or 24 of those came from hunter activities. 3 of them came from shepherd activities. 4 of them came from farming activities. If I had only relied on the shepherd and the farmer, we'd be broke. I got 4 kids. They cost a lot of money. I mean, we'd be struggle city. So not everybody has to do that because your goals are maybe different.
Get into something we talked about this before we even came on the broadcast, and it was September 26th that you have this data from the transactions 30, 31, whatever they are.
To be fair, like that, everybody understands that real estate is a long sales cycle. So that the reality, those results didn't start on September 26th. That's just when I went back to track the actual closed and taken business. So in all transparency, like, the big change that I made more was during the summer. So sorry.
So the interesting part about that is really important. Like we were talking before we came on, and one of the things the thing I said was that what's interesting about what you've done over the years I've known you and come back is you started one way, you were making money. And one of the things I learned from one of the great coaches of all time, John Cheplack, who said to me, when he works with agents and they're doing okay and they want to do better and they want to increase and improve and scale, he always asks them the same question. And that question is, well, what were you doing when you first started that really worked? Right. And that's what we talked about earlier. And that's what happened to you. 100%. So tell me about the discussion we had. Also, tell me about how that transition happened, where when you worked one way a number of years ago, was successful, and then you decided to go back to it. Talk to me about that.
So I was talking a little bit ago about my first broker, and what I didn't share in that story is I got started in real estate as an investor. I was wholesaling properties. I was doing fix and flips with partners. I had a rental portfolio, doing all kinds of stuff. Quite honestly, some of it a little reckless, and learned a lot in the process. But that's what really got me interested in real estate. I got licensed specifically to work with real estate investors. I invested money into a program. It was a licensing program. Think, sort of like a franchise that was all geared towards and designed around servicing and building a book of clients that are real estate investors. When my broker shared that, who do you know? I already knew that I had a better way because I had already plugged into something that I knew was proven. Focusing all of my proactive time and energy, the hunter part of my business, on real estate investors. I sold 26 homes my first year, 2007. My second year, I can't remember, it was in the high 40s, 46, 49, 48, something like that. I was rookie of the year my first year. I was number one in my whole brokerage my second year. And it worked so well, it took me 15 years to come back to to what worked. But in that time, like there were reasons and things changed. And honestly, 2009, 10, 11, things were, there was a lot of stuff going on in the real estate market if you weren't in the business. So there were factors at play that played a role in my changing interests and what I was doing. But what you shared from Coach Cheplack is, it's so apropos that the big thing that changed for me this year, late spring, early summer, was a return to focusing on building a book of business, a book of clients that are investors. And I've got, I could pull up contacts in my phone and scroll and scroll and scroll that I could call, and we can, you can, it's almost like an ATM machine. Like you need a withdrawal. Okay. Well, I know what this guy wants. I know what Dave is looking to buy. All I need to do is go find him what he's looking to buy. And it might be on market or it might be off market, but I'm just trying to match a pair, right? I'm just trying to, I got this guy, and we got to find the matching pair for this guy or gal, and just match them up.
So, all right. So let's look at this. I'm glad I looked at my screen because it looked like my computer's about to die, and that's the last thing in the world we want to have happen. So let's look at this, right? So you had something that worked and you went back to it. So this is kind of a two-part question. So you've got agents out there that don't know what works, and they're trying a lot of different things, and you knew what worked. And was there any trepidation or fear going back to it spring, early summer, to make that shift in your business? Or was it just something you just had to do and you knew it would work?
I've been talking with a lot of agents about this lately, and I can call them on their BS because I had the BS, the limiting belief, the mindset disconnect less than a year ago. I had the limiting belief that there wasn't a lot of investor activity. There wasn't a lot of opportunity on that side of the business because look, it really is a different side. Like there's retail buyers and sellers, and then there's investment real estate. They intertwine in the sense that, some investors are creating inventory for the retail buyers or creating inventory for the retail renters, right? But they're very different models. And when I started to open my eyes up to what is happening in my own market, it's like every one of you has had this phenomenon. You buy a new car, or a new used car. I'm not saying new car. And you now see that car everywhere.
Yep. Particular activator.
And so that's what started to happen for me is once I realized that this was all happening and I just wasn't paying attention. And quite honestly, some of it was, look, I had a rough go of it in 2009, 10, 11 in my own investments. And it was my own doing. I was young. I was stupid. Money was easy. And so I just said yes to just about anything as far as that goes. So that definitely played a role in it. But I'm older, I'm wiser, and I have that experience also to build on. And once I opened my eyes to it or had my eyes open to it, now it's like it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I could go, anyone listening here, and you can take me up on this. Reach out to me. I will do this with you. I guarantee you and I hop on Zoom for 15 minutes. We will find the opportunity in your market, and I will give you a path to be proactively doing almost as many transactions you desire. It really just comes down to the work. I put together, this makes me laugh. The tool that we've teased a little bit here, but we haven't really talked about. We've been sharing this presentation around the tool, and at the very end of the presentation, I have a slide that's a Peloton with the monitor of the instructor and the word "you" on the bike seat, because what we've built, LeadDeck.ai, is the Peloton bike. I'm the instructor, but you still got to pedal. And I think one of the reasons why agents have shiny object syndrome is we all think there's some magic easy button that commission checks will just show up in our mailbox, or that they'll just be direct deposited. You still have to work. You still got to work. But there are more efficient, effective ways to be working if you open your eyes to it.
There really are, and you're absolutely right. And okay, so shiny object syndrome is a real thing, right?
I fight it all the time myself. Like, I mean,
and now for me, since I really am getting really digging my feet in and setting roots into my processes of what I'm after and what I want to do. Because I have a 1-year plan, I have a 3-year plan, I have a 5-year plan. And now I know the vehicle I'm going to use to get to that car, so to speak, right? I know what I'm going to be driving to get there. But it's taken me many, many years to get there. So my question is really, we talked about you mentioned limiting beliefs, you mentioned mindset. Josh, I mean, is there a switch to throw out those limiting beliefs? Is there a switch to throw on the right mindset? Is there a switch to turn off to just stop fucking buying stuff?
I wish there were. I wish I could just give you all a pill and it would fix everything. I think it comes down to a couple of things. Deciding. I mean, you can change your life with a decision and deciding. And there are some people who have smoked cigarettes their whole life, and one day they just decide to stop, and they can do it and they can stop. And some people need to employ the help of other things or resources to make that happen. So I don't think there's any one perfect answer. What I would say is, for most people, if you can suspend your disbelief long enough to follow a proven process that is logic, that there's logical evidence that the process works, if you can suspend that disbelief long enough to get a positive feedback loop, that's really what it takes, right? I'll give, this is completely unrelated to real estate, but it is relevant to this conversation. I am someone who, as a kid, I was fat. I was overweight. I decided when I was my 11th birthday, I might cry sharing this story. I was shopping for jeans if anybody's from Pennsylvania, we have the Vanity Fair outlets in Reading, Pennsylvania. That's where I grew up. And I was shopping for jeans, and we had to go to the Husky rack. And I had been going to the Husky rack for years because I was overweight. And I decided, and I told my mom, this is the last time I am shopping the Husky rack. And in 45 days, as an 11-year-old kid, I lost 35 pounds. It was because I decided that was enough. Now, fast forward, my son, our oldest, is a couple of years old, and life has started to happen. And I get on the scale and I'm like, wow, that number is the highest it's ever been. And I decided that I was going to lose weight. And I tried this thing, and I tried that thing, and I tried this thing. And then I found this book, and I literally suspended my disbelief long enough to just follow what he said. And lo and behold, in 45 days, I lost like 30 pounds. And not only that, like totally transformed my body. In other words, you can be someone that's overweight and you lose a bunch of weight, but you just look like a shrunken version of yourself. Like I had a completely different body. The point I'm sharing is I decided the first time I decided, like I was young enough and I could just like make it. The second time I decided, it took me a little while to find the right information for me to then make my decision reality, right? So there's deciding, and then there's finding the right information or the right process or the right actions to make that reality. And what changed for me this year is the clarity around this worked before. It is still an opportunity now, despite my limiting beliefs that I had gotten over. And then it was just about doing the work. If I do this input, this output is what it turns into. I didn't think you were going to make me cry on this live stream, but you did it.
Man, that's so powerful. I mean, it's and I talk to agents all the time, as you know, about producing it. They keep saying, "What do you have to do? What do you have to do?" And I try not to tell them what to do. I try not to show them what to do. I try to example it out and try to have them figure it out. Because let's face it, if I tell you, okay, so let's talk. Okay, I'm going to use a listing appointment as an analogy.
Sure,
Mr. Seller, your price is too high. Okay, as opposed to, Mr. Seller, do you see the other homes that we're selling in your neighborhood? Can you see the correlation and how they compare and will compete with yours? So two different questions, but I'm hoping for the same outcome. Where the first one, I'm telling them, they don't want to hear that because I'm telling them they're wrong.
Right.
The other way is I'm asking the question so they can figure out the answer themselves.
Yep.
Right. So it's questions rather than telling. When we're talking about limiting beliefs, I want to look at, well, maybe instead of thinking about what could go wrong, how about we think about what could go right? Your process and your experience told you it's all about making a decision, right? And I over the years, I've done this one presentation that talks about choice and talks about fear and talks about all that. And one of the things I talk about is when you decide, let's face it. I mean, let's give another example, Josh. You go to a restaurant. I love to eat. I know there's a lot of restaurants I don't even want to go to, right? Because I know their food sucks, but there's restaurants I really love. Sometimes I'll go to a restaurant, I don't even look at the menu, I know what I want. But there's that menu you haven't, that place you haven't been to, and there's three things on a menu that you really love. One could be, for me, it might be a bone-in ribeye, it might be clams, some kind of clam dish, or it might even be whatever. It might be
chicken parm.
Chicken parm, right? It might be that. But I know once I make that decision that the other two things are gone. So for me, it's going to be the bone and ribeye salad. That's what it's going to be, right? So I know that every time I see that server or the waiter or whatever you want to call them come out of the kitchen with a tray of food like this, I'm not looking for chicken parm. I'm not looking for the clams and spaghetti. I'm looking for my ribeye.
Yeah.
Because I decided is to kill off pesticide, homicide, all the sides. That means to kill. I can't get rid of that decision. I mean, I made that decision to not want them. It's the same thing with your business. Once you were very strong-minded and were able to do that. And sometimes it's as much as, not wanting to wear larger clothes. I mean, for me, when I know I've got to drop a little bit, it's the belt loop, right? I'm on a scale every day, but, when I see it. But with business, how do you know it works if you're new?
Well, let me make a logical argument.
Yep.
And I've been shaping this analogy. And so I'll love some feedback. The argument I've been making is that when you build your real estate business, well, actually, let me before I share that, what if you had to boil this down, what one KPI, what one key performance indicator is the difference between doing more deals? Like, what one thing do you have to have more of if you want to close more deals, Dave? Conversations. Thank you. I was hoping you would say that. And that is reality, because you cannot avoid the fact that you have to talk to people in this business. People are not going to buy and sell real estate without talking to you. Now, I will tell you that I've done some deals that have mostly the communication has come through email and text, but they're still talking to you. And when you build a business that is based around talking to people that actually want and need your help, the business becomes so much easier for several obvious reasons. When you talk to people who actually want and need your help and are open to a conversation with you, you have more conversations. And the more conversations you have, the better you get, the more effective you become at communicating and making a compelling argument or presenting reasons, facts, etc., to help people make a decision on their own. And that makes you feel more competent. And the more competent you feel, the more confident you are to then go and have more conversations. Most of you are not having more conversations because, number one, you're trying to force conversations with people that don't want or need your help right now. Number one. Or number two, you don't know what to say to people that do know or want to
right. They do need your help. Right.
It's one of those two things. And what I mean by that is this. The shepherd, the farmer. Okay. If your business is only retail based, if your business is only based upon doing deals with your sphere of influence and your past clients, you tell me what percentage of people in those buckets at any one time, if I have 100 people in that bucket, what percentage of people are thinking about making a move? 2, 3, 4, maybe 5%? I mean, I don't think that's exaggerating. You can go look it up right now. The average the average owner occupant is moving once every like 13 or 14 years. So the math tells you, if I got 100 people moving every 13 or 14 years, like if anything, I might be underselling. So that means if you're told that every quarter you got to reach out to all 100 of these, most of your conversations are with people that don't want to have a conversation with you. They know you're just making small talk, and they know that you're only calling because you need business. Versus if you're having conversations with people, buyers who are always in the market looking for deals, or sellers who have either already raised their hand and said, I want to sell, number one, or number two, have some indicator of distress or motivation, that means they might need your help, even if they don't want it right this minute. They're going to need it sooner than later. those conversations, you can have them more easily, and you have more of them. They're more open to the conversation, and therefore it creates this feedback loop. You have more conversations, so you get better at the conversations. You have more competence, meaning like you have more skill, and then because you're more skilled, you have more confidence. And because you have more confidence, you're more willing and able to have more conversations, and it just loops and loops and loops.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that does get in the way sometimes is a lot of people don't know when to actually ask for more, right? So let's say you're talking to a for sale by owner and you'll have having a great conversation, but you either never ask for the appointment or you never ask for the business. Now that's the hunter part of it, right? But there's a lot of people that you're talking to that you don't have to ask for business. You just talk about who you are and what you are. And it won't turn into that quarterly conversation of, I'm looking for business. You got anybody? So it's just a matter of, the point I'm making comes down to one word, is called conversion. There's conversions to a lot of things, and not every conversation is a conversion factor, but it is a conversion to a better relationship from a better conversation. And that's the important part that is missed by so many coaches and trainers and mentors, because they're not talking about that. Yes, you got to make calls. Yes, you got to make contacts. Yes, you got to have conversations. But that's all about building a relationship, and then it has to do with all three parts that you've talked about. So we're talking about all this stuff, and I want to get into what you've been working on, which looks like a huge game changer for me and what I will use it for. And it's what you see on the screen, guys. We want to find buyers. We want to find sellers. And you use those three groups when you talk about this product. So give me an idea of what LeadDeck is and how you've been able to use it and the different ways that others can use it. So, let's talk about LeadDeck. It's really a cool product.
We built this tool just to first scratch my own itch, because I had this Frankenstein together process for identifying and getting myself into conversations with people that I've been describing, active investor buyers and potentially motivated distressed sellers. And when I say distressed sellers, I don't mean their house is falling down. I mean, there are conditions or factors at play, whether they be financial or other hardship, that means that they are more motivated or distressed. So I don't want to convey that like a distressed seller, meaning like, the burned out house, et cetera. And sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's not. It could be a pretty house with just an ugly situation or scenario. So I had Frankenstein together this process of getting myself in conversation with these folks. And I was having coffee with a buddy of mine who I've known locally here for years and years. We've done deals together. We've done some projects together, things of that nature. And we get together for coffee and we brainstorm and mastermind every so often. And so I'm sitting down with him, and he asked me, what's working, how you finding deals, this, that, and the other thing. And so I explained, I'm doing, this and this and this and this and this, and then eventually, if I do all those things right, I have conversations that lead to transaction opportunities, client opportunities. And he says immediately, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. There's got to be a better way to do this? And I said, well, if you can come up with a better way, I'm all for it. And that set us on the path to build this tool, which is designed to get you in conversation with the two most ready, willing, and able, the people in your market that want and or need your help, and therefore are much more likely to have a conversation with you. And the conversation might be by phone, it might be by text, it might be by email, but some kind of conversation. They'll engage with you because you have something of value to offer. Who are those people? Those are the investor buyers that if you had a deal, would go out with you this afternoon and they would make an offer on the property. Because I guarantee you, in every one of your markets, there are investors who are doing deals every week, every month, every quarter. That's number one. Number two is the people that want to sell, need to sell, or are going to want or need to sell in the near future. And when you present them, let's face it, most consumers don't actually want a real estate agent or a realtor. if they're trying to sell their property, what they are wanting is the buyer that will pay the most. We're a necessary evil in most of their eyes. So if I have the buyer, I have the cookie. I've got the thing that they want. And if I have off-market deals or on-market deals that I've done the work to uncover why it would make a good deal, or why it is potentially a good deal, I've got the cookie for the investor buyer. So now I'm not trying to sell. I'm not trying to pitch. I'm literally presenting information. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would you consider selling your property at, let me make it more personal. Hey, Dave, would you consider selling your property at street address to a private client of mine this winter? And I'm not just saying that to Dave, because, whatever. I'm saying that to Dave, who, and I'm not, maybe I don't want to project this on you, Dave. Let's say Sally home seller. She is, she's behind on her taxes. She is, I don't know. She inherited the property, and she's got a lot of equity. Okay. There are several factors of potential motivation. When I reach out to that person and I have a private client who wants to buy her home, that's a different conversation than me trying to reach out and see, have you had any thoughts of selling this winter? Any thoughts of selling this spring? No, I have a private client who would make an offer on your property. Now, what does that often lead to? Sometimes we end up buying the house. A lot of times I end up listing it, because the best solution for them is to list it and let the open market compete for their property. But it's a different conversation. So right. I got off on a tangent there. We built LeadDeck to make it the easy button for that. LeadDeck is a tool where you can go and create a free account, and instantly within creating your free account, you will have 2 decks of cards, or people in this case. But we're playing on the card analogy. You have 2 decks. You have a deck of cash buyers and you have a deck of motivated sellers, and all you're trying to do is play Go Fish. I got this card on this hand, and I'm trying to match it up with this card on the other hand, and all I'm trying to do is win the game of Go Fish.
Okay. So how does it do it? I mean, how does it find buyers and sellers? I mean, isn't that what we make cold calls for?
Yeah, so we're using, we are paying a pretty penny for the same data that all of the big tools in our industry, all of the big data tools use. So your prop streams, your prop wires, your, fill in the blank, whatever. We have and are paying for that same data. And we've just built a user interface and leveraging some different AI functionality, et cetera, to make it essentially an easy button. So you can literally within seconds create a free account, hit create my free account, and within seconds you will see, in whatever zip code you choose as your initial zip code that you want to, see what kind of activity there is, you will see immediately who are the cash buyers that own at least 5 properties and have bought at least one of them for cash in the last 3 years or less. I can tell you with certainty, when you call those people, more often than not, they want to have a conversation with you because you have the cookie. I've got deals. Now, you actually have to be able to make good on that, and we teach you that, and that's at the heart of the class that we've been hosting. For those that want to check that out, onedealaweek.com. You can see the three simple steps, a simple 3-step process. Close a deal a week every week. It's the process I've been following. I'll walk you through that and how we put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
So that's one deal. Is that one spelled out?
Onedealaweek.com. The number onedealaweek.com. Depending on when you go, you may see the most recent replay or recording, or you may see the opportunity to register for the next live session of it.
That's really cool. Let me see if I can get this up there. Onedealaweek.com. So you guys can check that out. We also have LeadDeck.ai on the screen.
Yep.
So that is something you want to look at. But so Josh, let's get back to what we were talking about before, about how you were able to you just changed what you were doing going back to investing part
Yep.
spring into summer. How was Lead Deck involved? That was that Frankenstein you were talking about?
Yep.
So were you paying a lot for a lot of different systems? What was that?
It was not just paying for a lot of different things. It was just so many steps in the process. I'd go and get the data, and I'd pay to skip trace the data, and then I'd scrub the data, and then I'd use AI to organize the data better, and then I would then upload it into another system, and I would scrub it again for two different things to make sure that it was good and clean, and then I would drip out messages, all just to get a conversation or to initiate a conversation. And we've taken all of those steps and made it literally so that you can create an account and be tapping to call, text, or email in a matter of seconds. Now, you still have to know what to say, and you still have to have the competence and the confidence to have the conversations. But we can help you with that. And when you check out the free class, we get into what that looks like and how some of that works and some of the steps and so forth.
Okay, so you mentioned the two magic letters of today, AI. There are so many people out there. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I mean, I happen to have had on this broadcast, I think one of the top AI coaches in the world, Carrie Sauvé, was on a couple of months ago. And I also was at an event recently where I saw a gentleman touted as a top AI coach who was talking about things that were new over a year ago. And I think there's a lot of issues with how are you using AI? How is it replacing what you're thinking? Are you using yourself? Are you doing a lot of different things? Why that sounds a little jumbled what I'm saying. And it is. Because I think the way agents are starting to use AI is they're going to lose their voice and they're going to lose what they really think. And they're just going to go and say, well, this is my magic pill. This is the easy button from Staples. I'm going to use this. When it comes to looking for buyers and sellers and sorting the data out, will your product be used incorrectly? Will it be used to a point where, agents are going to, it's going to be a big mistake that agents are going to use. And is this going to allow this separate wins and losses in business?
Well, I mean, what I will say is the same thing that happens with just about every technology is it divides the haves and the have-nots. So I'm a huge Alex Hormozi fan, and I've seen him answer this question a few times recently. Essentially, the question, is AI going to take over the world? Basically, some level of that, or will AI make me obsolete? And I thought this answer was fantastic. For forever, it's been man plus whatever technology exists versus man with whatever technology exists. And so until it's man versus machine, it's just going to be whoever is using the machine better, more effectively, more efficiently, more productively, that's the person that's going to win. So until robots are ready to take us down, it's just going to be who's going to use whatever technology is available
right
at our fingertips, and who's going to find the productive, efficient, effective way. One thing I will say specifically to AI and real estate, there are so many people that are pitching or talking about AI in ways that are in ways that make it that you can climb the ladder faster. But if your ladder's on the wrong building, like you've all heard that analogy, if your ladder's on the wrong building, it doesn't matter how fast all you'll do is realize faster that you got to the wrong place, or you got to some place you didn't want to go. So having clarity around what you want to focus on and what you're trying to accomplish and what your goals or targets are, that will make it dramatically more likely that you can plug into and effectively use the technology that is available to you.
And my technology is really screwing up because I dropped my remote before and I just stepped on it. and that kind of made things crazy.
Hey, listen, whatever. We're still here, Dave, so it's all good.
It's been a technology day. So
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the how technology has not changed and why AI is a little different. I've been in this business since before fax machines. And then when fax machines came out, there were people that didn't want to use them. And then you had no choice but to use fax machines. By the way, fax machines are still being used because there's some banks and insurance companies will only accept faxes. So that's kind of crazy in and of itself. And then we went to, before fax machines, we had answering machines for the phones. I mean, there were things, I don't have one of my phones here, but I have dial phones all over my house because I collected a few. Push button phones. When people say, dial this number, we actually dialed a number. It was a rotary phone, it was called.
Yeah.
People didn't want to use push button phones. So as we move along, all the changes in technology, then we got the computer. And it's funny because every now and then I run across, when I leave my TV on sometimes, I run across the old shows. If you remember this, Let's Make a Deal.
Oh, yeah.
And it's with, I can't remember his name, but one of the biggest prizes was a Commodore 64. Guys, we're talking about a computer, 64 megs. And that was a huge computer, megabytes.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, what I'm saying is that there was a lot of problems with adoption as time went on. I know the early adopters always win for the most part, but the problem there is you cannot be a skeptic about it. You have to use it the right way.
Gary Vee talks about this. I didn't know this. Gary Vee talks about this. I think this is another interesting thing along this technology. When electricity was first invented, people demonized it. People thought there was literally that if you had electricity in your house, you were letting demons, go through your house, right? Like, and obviously we learned that that's nonsense, right? So it's not a matter like years ago, people talking about, one of the first things that I did trading on was creating video content like this. And people were like, that'll never be a thing. Like, what? Like, you either adopt and adapt or you're going to die. Like, and not actually die per se, but like you'll be left behind.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is I remember doing video. I was one of the first people to do live videos on Facebook and do videos and upload them to Facebook. And I remember specifically and really vividly doing a video one morning because I used to get in my office early, as I always did, and doing videos then and posted them. I went to an event that night. And a friend of mine goes to me, hey, I saw your video this morning. And he chuckled like it was a freaking joke.
Yeah.
And I looked at him. This has got to be 15, 16, 17 years ago. And I looked at him and I said, but you watched it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And yeah, I did. And now it's like, I mean, everybody does that.
Yeah.
Everybody's. My point is really simple, Josh, is that just please know who you're talking to, who's teaching you the AI, and know where it is in the scope of what you want to use it for, and never lose your voice. Josh, give me a good way that an agent can use LeadDeck right away.
So here's I'm gonna try and give you the 60-second elevator pitch of the 3 simple steps that you can get on onedealaweek.com. Every single one of you right now have potential deals in your MLS, and I give you strategies, more 13 plus. There's like 14 or 15 strategies in a Google Doc. If you want that, you can text me or hit me up on Instagram. I'll give you the Google Doc. But I'm telling you, every single one of you have deals in your MLS. So you need to go find the deal. You need to get the story of why it's a deal. You need to get the insider information from the listing agent. And I've got three questions or a simple script to follow if you want to find that. Once you have that, you use LeadDeck to find the buyers of that deal. It might be a possible fix and flip project. It might be a turnkey rental. It might be vacant land that could be subdivided. It might be a multifamily. You can find the best buyers using LeadDeck. You literally call them and say, hey, Dave, it looks like you're a pretty active investor here in whatever area you're in. I have a deal that could be a good one for an investor. I don't know if you're looking for any deals or maybe know anyone who would be right now. And then And then here's what happens. When you reach out to those people with an actual deal for them to underwrite or for them to take a look at, one of two things will happen. They will say, I think this actually is a good deal. Let's check it out and maybe make an offer. Or they will say, this isn't really what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. And then you can go find them the thing they're actually looking for, which is what we used to have to do. This is before my time. But what you used to have to do in this business is like you would have to go and create deals, because there was a time where there wasn't an actual MLS, and listings existed in a little box on the broker's desk. They literally would have a listing information on a note card. We've got this listing at here and this other note card here. Like, you had to go and create that, and that opportunity still exists. Of those transactions that I mentioned the 18 closed transactions, five of them were off market. So if you go and try, some of you will go and try and, verify if what I'm saying is true. And I totally get that, because there's lots of people in this business that will, try to pretend something, whatever. Five of them they weren't MLS listed, where I either had a seller who had a legitimate reason to sell it off market, and we went and found them the buyer, or I had a buyer and we couldn't find them the thing they really wanted and needed on market, and we went and found them the one off market. So those transactions exist with my brokerage, but you won't go, you can't find them in the MLS because they weren't in the MLS.
Hey man, this has been a great broadcast. We've talked a lot of different things, and the support that we've given, I think that you've given today to agents of all different types, walks of life and stuff, has been invaluable. I want to thank you so much for being on today. We're up against time, and there's three things. I missed something in the very beginning. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank goodness it's Friday.
Yeah, you're close. Thank God it's Fanale. That's the real answer.
Oh, thank God it's Fanale. There you go.
So, and just two things. One quick question: how do I help you grow your business?
Oh, that's a great question. You already did. You already have spreading the message, right? And Dave told me before we were live he's going to be using the tool as well. So he'll be a great testimonial for us. So that those two things alone is more than enough for me, my friend.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being on. We got this hat coming out to you, Josh, as we do for everyone. Next week we have an extra special guest. Not all my guests are extra special. We have Via Williams, who has just changed over to a new brokerage, but she's also changing different things she's doing. She was running a company called Place for a long time, working with the great Ben Kinney. And we're really looking forward to having Via on next week with some insight about mindset, insight about agent attraction and recruiting, and all different kinds of things. And I want to thank everybody for coming on. Today is December 12th, 2025. Everybody, you got the holidays coming up. God bless you all. We'll see you next week. Josh, stay on for a minute.